no doubt that 9/11 was a day that changed us all, and still 20 years later, there's a question that is always being asked, is where were you on that tragic day?
Well, Fox 46's Maureen Wirtz shares a story tonight of one local family that spent weeks at Ground Zero looking for survivors and the heroes who didn't make it.
Tags we had for identifications.
It's not a story he repeats that often, but it's one that's part of everything he is.
I'm Frank Pinto Jr., retired lieutenant from the Hackensack, New Jersey Fire Department. I responded with my department 20 years ago to the World Trade Center, to Ground Zero.
It's a bit of a family business.
I didn't have any other plans for life except to be a fireman.
Frank Pinto Jr.'s dad was a fireman, his uncle was, and he was too. And his job, or calling really,
You went into these buildings that were covered in dust.
had him at Ground Zero during the days following 9/11.
The smells you can't explain to most people. It was the smell of death. It really was. There was no other way to describe it.
Her hobby is completely different from the job she had 20 years ago.
My name is Ariel Rivera Pinto, and 20 years ago, I was an EMT for the city of Hackensack, and I also work as an ER tech for Hackensack Medical Center.
On 9/11, while her husband was at the fire station in Hackensack, New Jersey, Ariel rushed to the emergency room where she worked. She waited and waited for the survivors to come.
We didn't get anybody. So
The firemen and the EMT, two first responders needed by the nation during 9/11.
all of a sudden we saw him like, oh boy, there comes the building. And we saw it when it collapsed.
While their kids stayed with Grandma and watched the world change.
It was hard to explain to them why, but I think Kevin understood a little bit more of it because he saw it on TV.
And what's part of this family story, Kevin, do you have any questions for your dad?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Is also a part of ours.
I'm Kevin Pinto Rivera. I'm a photojournalist at Fox 46. 20 years ago, my parents were first responders after the World Trade Center attacks. Growing up, one of my favorite places to be at was the fire station. Everyone knew me there as Little Pinto, or Frank's kid. But 9/11 changed us as a family, and it wasn't just that one day, but the days and years after. Hi.
Hi.
You ready?
Yeah.
Cool. You haven't mentioned this person yet. Dennis.
He developed bladder-type cancer. It was found to be from World Trade Center, which has a lot of cancers. They have a whole list of cancers now.
Dennis is someone I knew growing up, one of Dad's closest friends. Dad was right next to him going through the rubble of 9/11.
We were pretty close. We went over there a lot together. It makes me, scared for my own health too, but ironically, we lost another guy this year from World Trade Center cancer.
I was thinking about Bob. I was really thinking about Bob.
And there's someone Mom will never forget, her coworker of 20 years, Bob. A few days after 9/11, she found out he was one of those who was trapped in the towers when they fell.
It was him and 5 other people. They were pushing a lady in a wheelchair. They were trying to get out the stairwell. And that's where they found them. But it was almost 7 months.
Dad has a box of photos from the days and months afterwards.
I don't know what it is. It came out of the rubble.
In it, a piece of the World Trade Center that's become a solemn symbol of our family's history.
It's sacred and something I've always kind of looked at and had memories from it.
You gave this to me for show and tell.
Yeah, I remember that.
In 4th grade.
I trusted you with it.
You did. You trusted me to bring this to
and you
everybody.
brought it back in one piece. Yeah.
It was hard. It was hard.
There's a reason why stories need to be told.
I don't want these guys to have died in vain because of that. And that's why everybody says, never forget, never forget, never forget.
It's so we can remember the people in those stories. Ones who call themselves ordinary, but who were really the heroes we won't forget. I'm Maureen Wirtz.
And I'm Kevin Pinto Rivera, Fox 46.
Now, Frank says firefighters don't like using the word hero to describe themselves and the job that they're supposed to do, but that's a word that his son Kevin uses when he talks about both of his parents.